When buying gifts for others, you know your choices impact lives in ways big and small, now and forever. When you choose to buy and give handcrafted items, they not only look great, they feel great because they're high quality and not mass-made. Celebrate the ones you love with a gift from Etsy, one-of-a-kind and meaningful gifts made by incredibly talented sellers. Etsy is giving first-time shoppers $10 off an Etsy purchase of $35 with code ETSYGIFT10. That's $10 off an Etsy purchase of $35 with code ETSYGIFT10. Offer ends December 31st, 2021. See terms at etsy.com/terms. This season, give more than a gift.
The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, the show is brought to you by Levi Solicitors. You can get a 10% discount on your legal fees. levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Last couple of days as well on the 15% discount on conveyancing instructions. That runs until the end of September 2021. I'm Dan Moylan. With me is Michael Normanton.
Hello.
Moscow White as well. Daniel Chapman.
Hello.
If you want to support us and get the full TSB package, you can get every digital copy of the mag we've done. All these podcasts ad-free, and soon it'll be all the videos ad-free as well. Priority access to the match ball. Daily email from Moscow as well with all the essential Leeds United news, so you don't have to doom scroll to get it. Loads of stuff there. TSB Plus. Have a look at thesquareball.net/plus. In the first part of the show then, the weekly show, we round up the very, very latest Leeds United news. And this ain't happening, is it?
Bad news this morning, isn't it? Daily Star says it's done.
Oh,
done deal.
Oh, it must
Sorry
be true then. It must be true.
No.
Calvin Phillips to Man United.
Well, they say so, don't they? He might leave at some stage. I can't discount it because he's really good and someone will want to buy him. But he's surely going to want to go somewhere to win trophies, isn't he? And that's not really the place for it.
And he's going to want a coach who's going to make him better as well.
You would think. So, I don't know. I'm not too concerned at this stage.
I mean, we joke about it. I have sort of resigned myself to the fact that he'll leave soon.
Why?
Well, because his development has outpaced our development, and I suspect there will be a contract renewal at some point in the next 6 to 12 months that will bake in his value, much like happened with Grealish at Villa, and then he'll be sold for a big fee, and we will use it to move into the next phase of our development.
I don't want to speak to you anymore, Dan. Moscow, what do you think?
I think the same.
Boo. Yeah, I do as well.
It's win-win, really. I think he'll only leave when it's a Champions League club wants him, and under those circumstances, we can't keep him because there's that slight idea that maybe if we're in the UEFA Cup, we might. Champions League's just different thing, isn't it? And he's good enough to play there, and it's basically down to when teams want to come and get him. That's the thing, because it's looking at Liverpool's midfield when they're going to age out and they'll need a new player, or Manchester City's midfield when they're going to age out and they'll need a new player. I don't think Scum are relevant to this conversation whatsoever. I think this is kind of they probably will end up signing Declan Rice, and they'll probably end up paying 90 million for him, and this is just kind of
even though they've poured cold water on it today.
Well, that's it. It's a story in the Daily Star to say we want West Ham to lower their price because we'll just go and get somebody cheaper. And I don't think Calvin Phillips would necessarily be cheaper. Why is he £30 million less valuable than Declan Rice? I don't think that's even...
That's probably just representative of his contract, I think. That'll be all. That's
Maybe
the only
so.
reason.
But this, just seems like that kind of story of just like, yeah, they want Declan Rice, he's too expensive, so they'll just go and sign the other one. They'll probably spend it on some Dutch no-mark will cost 150 million and never play. This is very much how they go about things. But that's it. I think it's more dependent now on when a club in the Champions League has that gap in their squad and they want him.
Great. Well, I'm glad we've sold Calvin Phillips as an opener for this show. Who next? Well, Rafinha.
But the win-win, and maybe, but the win-win is he's achieved what he stayed to do, got us into the Premier League, and we will get that money to do. I would spend it a bit more creatively than Aston Villa did. I suppose their data approach after selling Jack Grealish, if they identified 3 players who would provide the same statistical output as one Jack Grealish and went and bought them all. But none of those signings really filled me with joy. But that 100 million quid or whatever could do a lot for our team going forward, because I don't know where else we would necessarily get the money from, because the only way we get to a higher level is the stadium redevelopment and that bringing in more income, and that's years away from from happening. So,
and it's a different type of investment, isn't it? It's bricks and mortar. It's a long-term investment.
Yeah, but then
you pay back over a number of years, whereas footballers, that you need to shell out a lot of money immediately, don't you?
Yeah, and the only way we'll get the money to pay for footballers is if we build the stadium and that starts people start buying a lot of cheese.
Would it be controversial to call it the Calvin Phillips West stand while he's over the Pennines winning trophies?
No.
Well, we won't, there shouldn't be any consideration given to spending, and like to make clear there's no misunderstanding. I don't mean we spend the money from selling Calvin Phillips on building the West Stand. I mean, the West Stand project exists anyway, and the COP and the East Stand, by the sounds of it, to get us to the £60,000 stadium, 60,000 seater stadium. And that then starts generating the money that you can spend on players. And that's going to happen whatever we do, as long as we stay in the Premier League. But the time it will take for that to start making money back is years. So in the meantime, all you can really do to raise yourself up is get better sponsorship deals than the clowns and no marks that we've got plastered all over the ship. With apologies to Buxty, I'm sure their boilers are fine. It's not them I'm referring to.
Did you say Boxty?
Yeah.
Okay. That's how you're going for it, is it?
Yeah.
I admire you doubling down on it. Good.
And selling players to buy players. And it's the way Liverpool cracked it, isn't it? Sold Coutinho, bought Van Dijk and Alisson, won everything. So there is a world after Calvin Phillips, and we just have to,
embrace it. No, I mean, the idea of selling players, it always hurts, because I as a kid, I remember selling Batty and it being the end of the world. And, we saw Smith leave, and that really, really hurt. Even if deep down, maybe we understood he had to leave around that time. Maybe not there. But I think given the economics of the Premier League, we sort of understand there's a risk spreading element to it as well, isn't there? Like, it's better to have a bunch of players who are worth slightly less and, be able to buy, let's say, 4 players maybe with that money.
So we don't have to have children on the bench every game.
Yeah, and it's awful being practical about it, because we're all hugely attached to Calvin, and I know it sounds like we're sitting here justifying selling him, but I don't know. I think it's just a pragmatic view, isn't it, of football?
And with him in particular, part of the pragmatism comes out of a fondness for him, because I would love for him to end his career with a Champions League medal. And I just don't think Leeds United, by the time he's 35, so 10 years from now, will have won the Champions League. So
negative Nancy.
So the only way for him to be able to achieve that goal is to leave. And so...
what an absolutely miserable start to this podcast.
I would...
what have you done?
Well, I didn't even know that this was in the paper this morning until it was thrown in front of me by
me, and then you were meant to say, no, it's not happening. Instead,
it's not happening.
You're waving goodbye to him.
He's not going to Scum, and he's not going during this season. But it is, like I said, I think it's dependent on, I've thought for a while, dependent on what Champions League club wants a defensive midfielder. That's when the decision will have to be made, and then we just have to make sure we get... I mean, he was going to sod off to Aston Villa. He don't even care anyway. He had to be blackmailed into staying.
Well, while we're continuing on this tip, Rafinha, he's been linked to Barcelona. Have you seen that? Don't know what they're going to buy him with. Magic beans, maybe, but...
Yeah, they seem to still be able to buy players, again, weirdly, to be linked with him. They're having to sell everyone not so long ago because they couldn't afford to keep a single player. That was the more or less the gist of it, wasn't it?
Yeah. Is there some confusion on our sheet here where you've collated the news? Because what I'm looking at is that Jack Jenkins is being linked with Barcelona, and you're telling me it's actually Rafinha. Is that in the wrong place?
That might be in the wrong place. Although Jack Jenkins possibly more within their price range.
It's a bloody good job we got him tied down. If Phillips is off, we don't know who Rafinha's being
Jack
linked
Jenkins,
to.
by the way, sounds like sort of a pop folk artist who you'd hear on Radio 2, doesn't he? He's got a nice album out.
But anyway, yeah, Rafinha's the one that's going to Barcelona.
Right, okay.
For, in a swap deal with presumably about 10 of their other players, because they have no cash. Because all the Super League clubs are skint, aren't they? And that's why they've all...
And they've obviously been punished.
That's why, they've been punished, and they're all reining in that spending, aren't they now?
But Rafinha's had another Brazil call-up, and there is chat of them excluding footballers from quarantine. Maybe this is a way round the sort of impasse that we saw at the September international window as we head in towards October, because that's happening in the next week or two, another break from the season.
I know you were joking about the Super League thing then, but I do have more optimism about being able to keep Rafinha than Calvin Phillips, just because of the state of some of those clubs where they are. I mean, Barcelona are trying to get players for nothing, basically doing swap deals and free transfers and loans and stuff. And there's not a lot of clubs throwing that kind of money around who would want him. I can picture 90 million or 70 million for Calvin Phillips to an English top 4 club, or even a continental side with a chance of the Champions League. He can't go to Scum and he can't go to Bayern Munich. Those are 2 conditions. But they might want him. Whereas who's going to pay like 50 million quid for Rafinha? I'm not sure if he's good enough that a team in the top Champions League places would want to spend.
Football's full of idiots.
It is
full of idiots.
I could more easily see Aston Villa spending £60 million on him than Liverpool spending £60 million on him. That's what I kind of feel about him. I don't feel like he's got the he's quite got what they need in the Champions League. So I'm not sure Chelsea aren't going to sign Rafinha, are they?
Over summer, Liverpool were being linked with him, and wasn't it 20 million quid plus we got to have Harvey Elliott on loan for a season? I think but we're not having him now.
Dodged a bullet there, didn't
Absolutely
we?
Bloody bendy legs, plasticine ankles, or whatever he's got.
Was this Michael Owens information though? Or, so the links,
No, it was just Scouse Twitter just deciding they could have our player for no
because he's
money.
good and they want him, and there will be an element of that. And he's certainly scoring all the goals for us. Although if he could shoot quickly, then he'd maybe score some more, because it was the same thing with.
He scored.
Yeah, because Click didn't give
He's
him
on
a
about
choice.
Newcastle, isn't he?
And then also against West Ham, when he controlled the ball on the edge of the box, and he went all golf about it. Of like, oh well, around there and it hit the post.
The level of criticism reserved for Rafinha and Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
And certain golden boys get not a word against
Our
them.
new superstar wingers.
Exactly.
He's,
not a word said against them. Did very well. I thought he did well.
He was brilliant. Like against West Ham, Rafinha was absolutely outstanding. But if we're talking about him getting into a Champions League team and them spending the money it would take to sign him, then I don't know which one of those would.
I agree with you.
dismiss
For what it's worth, I think he's just that little bit short of that level at the minute.
And he may get there. He may improve playing in the Premier League for another season and reaching those levels, because he was in, Rouen, kind of qualified for Europe by mistake. With him
it is Rennes,
So he's improving all the time. He's even going away to Brazil and training with Neymar
Richarlison
for a few days. Yeah, gives him that chance. But then, I don't know where there's a gap for him in those clubs. So we could maybe keep him.
So we'll sell Calvin this summer, and then the year after, then it's Rafinha.
Well, no,
Great.
we'll keep Rafinha for the rest of his career. He'll just be really, really miserable. I wish he could leave.
It looks at this stage like we're keeping Adam Forshaw for the rest of his career. I really feel bad for him. I feel really sorry for him. It's gone well beyond the joke and into it's genuine sort of tragedy now, isn't it? The fact that he just cannot get fit.
Well, it's just you could maybe call it
A what?
Perpetual.
You could maybe call it a heartbreaking tragedy, or you could call it a normal setback in a recovery from a long-term injury.
Yeah, I know, but to have 2 years out and then another month, it feels like it just feel perpetual.
It feels like the recovery from a long-term injury that you're going to have. You are more exposed to.
Yeah, I mean, you might view it as normal, but am I not allowed to have sympathy for a man who's not played football, which is his chosen career, and he's not played for 2 years?
There's a difference.
And I'm saying it's just really sad for him.
You were saying it was a tragedy
for him.
It's not even a tragedy for him. I'm sure he doesn't need to hear that it's a tragedy. He just needs to hear that. Oh, I hope you sort it out soon and get back playing. So
when you're forced into retirement at the end of the season,
well, that's not sympathy for him. That's writing him off.
Well, that's what you're doing. You're saying I shouldn't feel sympathy for him.
No, I'm saying you should feel sympathy for him, but you should support him by saying,
I do support him.
Give it a month, you'll be back. Not saying it's an absolute tragedy and you'll never play again.
He's not watching this.
Well, what else is he going to do? He's not training, is he?
Lazy bastard.
It is bad, but also I am wary of going overboard on the idea that Adam Forshaw is finished, it's tragedy and he should retire and all this. These things happen when you're coming back for a long-term injury. It doesn't help us and it doesn't help him, and it's going to make his life more difficult, but you'd hope he can keep a more positive attitude towards it of like, okay, it's a tear in the thigh, it's a month, I get through that, I get fit again, we keep going.
I think I'd cry if I tore my thigh.
Well, that's the other thing.
That sounds like it really hurts.
Yeah, the pain element always gets forgotten in these sort of situations where it's but you forget about it. That's got to hurt, tearing a muscle in your thigh. Even sometimes I'll just pull a bit of muscle in the calf while I'm lying down.
Oh no, that's a tragedy.
And it hurts, and then just kind of pop it back and have to massage it a bit. But
well, what I think then is, I think it's okay. He'll get off the couch eventually, and his leg will be fine. I'm not going to call it a tragedy yet.
Yeah,
because he'll have a fucking go at me in a podcast studio for saying the wrong thing.
Michael? Bit awkward in the middle there, isn't it?
First the perpetual injuries, now this.
I mean, I do keep prodding you with the perpetual injuries. Adam Forster, it does have perpetual injuries. I mean, this must be, I think, his third setback since he was fit again. Because he had one at the end of last season. It's his second this year, isn't it? So, yeah, it's tough. And when we have seen him, he's kind of looked fine as well. That's the thing. He's looked like he could be actually fairly useful. Not necessarily want him starting games, or you could even bring him on to change things, but as someone who can play in midfield, which we don't have very many of.
That's what exacerbates it, isn't it?
He's looked fine.
We're so light on bodies in midfield that again, I'm going back to Radrazani's unhelpful tweets about this. I don't think that's particularly helped Forshaw in terms of, I mean, you're having a go at me for mentioning it and using the wrong words, but I don't think Radrazani saying he's the answer to our new midfielder problems is helpful for anybody.
He was trying to be supportive, wasn't he? But he was just being a bit dumb.
I think so. And he got involved in another little verbal contretemps over the weekend, didn't he, with people flagging up that tweet and him biting back. I just think it's not for the best. Just don't do it. I mean, you're entitled to have an opinion, and I'm sure. Do you know what? When you own a football club and you've done so much good for it, it must really hurt, and it must stick in the craw when people are having a go at you about stuff, and your skin's that thin. But you've just got to rise above it, haven't you? Because it doesn't help anyone getting involved in it. Twitter's not sensible. It's not real life. Nor is this podcast. It's it's daft and reactionary.
It can get I was going to characterise it as weeping about us not signing a midfielder in retrospect can get very tiring. Like, we're not going to sign one in September now, so I don't know what we.
No, the window's closed.
Banging on about it, and we mentioned on the propaganda podcast that what people say, it's criminal and negligent. We know for a fact that it's not like everybody at Leeds sat around going, "Tell you what we'll do for a laugh. Let's not sign a midfielder because that'll be really funny." They tried to sign something they wanted.
I think they did.
They tried to sign something they wanted. They didn't want to pay for the fee for one from
couldn't afford him.
And then
quote Moscow White, couldn't afford him.
And then the other one decided he wanted to go to Crystal Palace. And then the rest of it, I don't know. I don't know if I saw there was the guy from, is it Coop Miners, who went to Italy, who looked really good, but then it seemed like he always wanted to go to Italy. Did he go to Atlanta?
I think,
yeah. He did.
Like, he always wanted to go there, so it was never really an option. Obviously, there was Rodrigo de Paul, but he's expensive.
They've all ended up in the Champions League.
Well, exactly. So it's kind of, were we going to be able to get those players in the first place? Could we have tempted Rodrigo de Paul?
Yes.
When Atletico Madrid came on.
I put a lot of work into that.
and got him. And then the other side of it is because when you remember the way that Victor Orta prefers to work, it's about not just about who's available now, but it's about finding the players and then lining up when they're actually available. So that's how Rafinha came. It wasn't just a random, he suddenly appeared in a search on Football Manager and we got him. There'd been the work put in so that we were at the front of the queue, so that when things went wrong for him at Oran, Deco is straight on the phone to Victor Orta and said, you were talking to me about him 6 months ago. Oh, he's available now. And I wonder if there's a player or players available next summer who represent better value than anything that they could get after Conor Gallagher and Lewis O'Brien this time. And then it's a balance and it's a risk, but maybe not a stupid one to say, well, we could spend £30 million on a midfielder now, but there is a player as good as that coming available next summer for £15 million who we like more. So,
who can lead the charge to the front in the Championship?
Well, but then you also then got to give a little bit more credit sometimes, I think, to Phillips, Dallas and Click, who didn't really have any problems keeping us in the top half of the table last season. So the risk there is that we didn't subtract anything in the middle of the pitch this summer. And yeah, it's a bit of a risk. I would add, Lewis Bate looks good.
Great.
I'm surprised in a way that I'm surprised he's not made the bench yet, because he looks a step above anybody else around him in the under-23s. Running games, comfortable range of passing. Everything's nice. Bit of bite to his tackling and stuff. And it's not in a kind of a he looks, and he's come from Chelsea, so and there's the idea there that if Billy Gilmore can play for Norwich, then Lewis Bake shouldn't be far enough away for us. And it's what I was saying on propaganda as well, you can start to feel that strategy working of our defenders get injured. Stroik, Creswell are in the under 23s waiting. So, touch wood that.
Well, now tragedy has befallen. Now tragedy has befallen Forshaw. There is that midfield spot on the bench potentially opening up, so you never know. We might see.
It's amazing. He's not been on the bench yet, has he? And he didn't get into it at Fulham. It's quite. I don't know if it's about him not being here long enough yet, or maybe Bielsa just.
He's probably about he's a pound overweight or something like that. That's what it'll be.
It could be, but he looks decent, and I wouldn't be surprised if he can do stuff. And then we don't even need to worry.
We've got Mateus Bogus. Mateus Bogus is coming back. Have you seen he's been ripping it up in Ibiza with the Wenger boys? He's been having a great time, hasn't he?
It's a great goal, I have to say. He's in the Spanish second division, isn't he, at the moment, which is probably...
higher than Pablo.
True. So better than Pablo. Okay.
Mm-hmm. He'll be coming against Samu Saiz.
Samu Saiz was pretty good, actually, as well, wasn't he? Yeah, I mean, it's a good goal. I'd feel bad bringing him back. From his Instagram, it looks like he's having the time of his life, to be honest.
Do you want to piss about on a yacht in Ibiza, or do you want to be in Beeston in the winter?
Dragging him back. I don't know what the recall things are. I think
running around a bloody field.
You can recall people in transfer windows, can't you, if you've got the right... That's the Football Manager rule, anyway. So dragging him from his yacht to the winter in Beeston, as we're languishing in the relegation zone with the hopes of a football club rested on his shoulders. I think it'd be great for him. Let's do it.
23s are genuinely doing all right, aren't they? There in Premier League One. Was it 4-4 draw with Blackburn?
Throwing it away. Never mind doing well. Throwing away a lead in this one.
Young Gelhardt, though, is still just being completely ridiculous.
It was a shame to see Gelhardt basically not touch it against Fulham, wasn't it? Because every time you see him in the 23s, he does something absolutely brilliant. And there was a goal in this where he just... Well, in fact, both goals were really good, but the first one where he just picks it up on the right-hand side of the box and cuts in and finishes. But even the second one, he's just really tidy feet and manages to tackle someone, then beats a man, kicks it really hard past the goalkeeper.
Is he better as a 9 or a 10?
I think he needs to play up front. I'd have him up front for us, personally. Not necessarily ahead of Bamford or Rodrigo, it's worth saying, but that's where I would like to see him play. It's
hard to say because outside of the goals in this game, there wasn't a lot of Joffy per minute. And
the old JPM stat.
And I was wondering about this after Fulham. And I have a feeling that might have been his chance and he didn't take it because Bielsa was weirdly annoyed in his post-match press conference. I don't know if it's because they had him sitting in the dark in a corner of a room in Fulham, but he was a little bit more, normally he'll be quite positive. He's like, yeah, that was an average performance. Nobody was good. And you see Tyler Roberts started at 9 in that game, and then when the weekend comes around, he's on the bench. So you can see he didn't do what was required, and then Joffy came on, and the difference between Joffy and Charlie Creswell is that in the press conference in between, Bielsa said that previously at Newcastle, Ayling got injured, and I decided to bring on Shackleton and put Calvin Phillips into defence because I wasn't totally sure about Charlie Creswell. I can't ignore the way he played against Fulham. He's changed my mind, and then he starts the next game. Whereas people are asking, why didn't Joffy come off the bench against West Ham? I think it might be because he came off the bench against Fulham and Bielsa watched him essentially do nothing. He praised his penalty, and it was good that he, the strength of character to score in the penalty shootout. He didn't do anything wrong, but he wasn't involved and didn't dominate the game. And this is the step up from under 23s to Premier League is very big. Even the Championship is big, and he was playing against Championship defenders against Fulham. And it might be a little bit like Charlie Creswell against Hull in the Carabao Cup last year, where he had his debut and Bielsa watched that and said, let's go and sign Llorente because he's not ready. And now here we are a year later, and he's got him back in the team in the Carabao Cup and goes, that's what I wanted to see a year ago. Now I will pick him whenever there's a gap. Calvin can stay in midfield. That's all sorted. But then I wonder, so what's the next opportunity for Joffy? If I'm right in this kind of feeling that he didn't take that chance, because everybody always says, I'm not being harsh on him, when you get the chance at the first team, you've got to take it. And nobody came away from the Fulham game going, he was cheered on, roared on, I think with a little bit too much pressure, based often on highlights like the goals against Blackburn. and didn't then do it. So it's then I'm worried then when his next chances, because Arsenal in the next round is kind of a weird draw for those kind of things, because do you give him a spin in that match? I'd like to, because I think he's going to be brilliant. I'd like him to start getting more opportunities, and I'd like him to be starting matches by the end of the season. But it seems, just from the way Bielsa described and narrated that change in Creswell, I don't think it made me think retrospective. I was like, did Joffrey not do it?
It'd be a bit harsh because he didn't get long, did he, against Fulham? And he came on at a stage where the game had broken down into pretty much
it's
nothingness.
A harsh world, Michael.
But Creswell got to start, didn't he? And it's much easier to start a game.
And it's easier to defend as well. We were saying this after Fulham, that he's kind of got an easier job. Joffrey's gone on there, asked to create something, and he but he had McKinstry was on the wing with him, so he didn't have the benefit of Rafinha and Harrison and all our best players making things for him. So, but then Creswell a year ago was in defence next to Ollie Casey, and so he had to put up with the same kind of situation. And it is kind of it's down to the players sometimes to say, this is your big opportunity that you've been waiting for. If you don't score a double hat trick of overhead
we
kits,
will bomb you out.
But it's not my, just to clarify, it's not my kind of rating. It's me looking at what Bielsa was saying about
Send
Creswell
him to the West Coast on loan.
And saying, and wondering if maybe he didn't get from Gelhardt what he needed. So he's kind of got a bit of a reality check just for him to kind of, and that's as it should be. It shouldn't come easy because it's the Premier League. And if he becomes a Premier League footballer, he'll be a billionaire when we sell him to Chelsea. So it's not as simple as getting in. And then just to polish all that off, people will say, well, how come Tyler Roberts keeps getting picked? But then...
And nobody knows the answer to that one.
Well, safe...
Moscow does.
No, it goes on all the time. And Tyler Roberts he's not been brilliant so far this year, but, we've won games with him in the team, haven't we? So he can't be terrible.
He's got the experience. And from Bielsa's point of view, safe option off the bench. And what he did against West Ham was he couldn't come close to what Rafinha had been doing on the right wing, but he did just play with Shackleton and Click to create chances down the right. We were much more dangerous still on the right-hand side where Tyler Roberts was than old COVID Jack on the left. Bless him. We
can't get through a show without that praise coming out, can we? With reference to the kids, by the way.
Praise.
There is risk attached to the old Sean Harvey bastard offspring pizza pot, whatever it's called, tonight. The under-21s plus some other older boys.
You're allowed some bigger boys, aren't you, in this, I think? As long as they've not played...
Talking about the Papa Johns, we're playing Oldham
games or something
tonight as we record this. I mean, think of the risk attached to this, given that everyone is panic buying petrol at the minute. If you drive over there from Leeds and you've not got enough in your tank, you could end up stuck in Oldham on a Tuesday night. Now, just imagine what that scenario would be like.
I've been to Oldham on a Tuesday night. It was cold.
It's always cold. I mean, I
remember.
It's late summer now, just to timestamp it. It's late summer, very back end of the summer, but it's still quite warm for the time of year, isn't it? Outside, temperatures in the sort of high teens or thereabouts. Bit of rain here and there. Oldham, it'll be like the South Pole tonight, because it always is.
I might prefer that. I might go, because Saturday was muggy. I didn't like it. I nearly nominated the weather as a villain.
Thanks. Stop that one dead there, Moscow. Thanks. And just to bookend this part of the podcast then, you went to see Leeds United Women featuring our very own Olivia Smart.
I did. She did us proud, did Olivia Smart, actually. It's they play it.
We sponsor her, by the way. We don't own her.
Yes, correct. Yeah. There's no third-party ownership going on either. We sponsor her, and they play the games at Tadcaster, which is kind of a small non-league ground, and as part of the kind of vibe at non-league, there's a sign up saying, like, we don't swear here or something, like trying to make it kid-friendly and stuff. I was right by the corner where Olivia took her first corner that went straight into the side netting, and a big "fucking hell" came out of her mouth.
Her potty mouth.
So we've done the right thing, and we've sponsored an absolutely foul-mouthed individual, which I think she does Square Ball proud.
Yeah, well, she didn't swear. We did the extra ball with Olivia, which is great. By the way, you can see the video if you are a TSB Plus subscriber. It's on the website. Have a look at the watch bit. Very, very nice person, and spoke very humbly about her experience with Leeds. I didn't know we'd sponsored a potty mouth.
Yeah, she's quite furious on the pitch, which is as it should be.
It's good,
I think. So, but they were very good, actually. They won 3-1 against Chesterless Street, but could probably won by another few.
I think from reading the Kath Hamill column in the Yorkshire Evening Post this morning, Tuesday morning, she mentions that Olivia had come straight from work and hadn't been to bed. So it sounded like she'd done a night shift. And then, so that explains what I mean. Corners shouldn't be going the side netting, should they? That's the first thing. You wouldn't get that in the Premier League. But then also you probably wouldn't have had people like working in a hospital overnight before coming to
No
the game.
excuse, Moscow.
So
Absolutely pathetic.
The development of she can be forgiven a few in the swear jar.
Have you heard of the false nine? Phil Hayes doing this. He's bandying around this fancy football language. False nine. What is a false nine?
I've seen us play without a striker a few times, if that's the same thing.
Don't think it's not the Steve Morrison days, is it? No.
Okay.
No, talking about Rodrigo, good article by Phil on The Athletic this week if you want to check that out. The podcast is brought to you in association with The Athletic, and you can get 50% off an annual sub at the minute, which is 30 quid for the year at theathletic.com/the square ball. And of course, as part of this, we do the podcast with him, the Phil Hayes Show, later on in the week. Looking forward to that one, where Phil will tell us what's wrong.
We always get the...
turning into therapy now.
We get it straight after the Bielsa presser, don't we? So we just get to learn which of our good players are not going to be playing at the weekend. So that's always a joy.
Theathletic.com/the square ball to sign up for The Athletic and look out for the podcast on both YouTube and on your audio feed as well later on in the week. In this bit, then, we will preview Watford. What do you know about Watford?
Elton John, Marlon King,
Graham Taylor,
John Barnes. John Barnes, really good.
We killed a man. Who did we kill him? It was Don Polion killed a man.
Yes, it was their goalkeeper.
That's my most recent memory of Watford. And this is not to be disparaging about Watford. I think even Watford fans, and I'm sure Angus Kinnear as a Luton fan would agree, Watford not necessarily the most glamorous or high profile of clubs.
Oh, interesting.
Well, no, I was skirting around that, but
Watford, the obvious reason why Angus Kinnear won't let us have a yellow away kit, I would say. That's their biggest crime. If they'd have only played in lilac, we could have a nice yellow away kit now instead.
It's a shame. They had a really exciting kit last year with they had all the stripes were kind of exploding out of the badge being there on the chest. And they've just gone for hoops this year. So
it's an awful shirt, is their shirt, I have to say.
This year?
Yeah. Dreadful. And it looks like, I can't read the sponsors, but it looks like it's a stroke, is what you read when you first read it.
Is it a Chinese betting firm?
I'm almost certain it will be.
It is.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, we don't need to give them the publicity. And then a red away kit as well is never a good thing. So send them down. Do you think they must be, they'll have to play in red against us, won't they?
Why? Because they're playing yellow and black, so...
I would stick them in the red.
Why? I mean, genuinely, why? They don't have to change. What's your reasoning?
The yellow's probably a bit too close to our white.
You think?
In a referee's eyes.
I'm not so
You can
sure.
see it in a boy's eyes.
Okay.
Who sang that?
Oh, I'm just looking. Yeah, it is a betting firm, but they've got it's sort of a gradient fade between the yellow and the black hoops, isn't it? It's not your distinguished hoop on that.
Jamelia.
shirt.
Jamelia sang "See It in a Boy's Eyes."
Yeah.
It was a really good song, that.
And it is a betting firm on their shirts. That's not a nice kit, is it?
Comrade, I don't feel the same with my foot to the floor.
Are you doing lyrics now?
That's Jamelia lyrics, yeah.
Thanks.
Never mind.
They're doing all right, though. They've had a decentish start, 12th, hovering around the middle, but it's been a fairly soft start relative to, I think, who we've faced. They've had Villa, mind you, Brighton. They lost to Brighton, tabletop in Brighton almost. They played Palace, Watford, Wolves.
They
Norwich.
haven't played Watford. They are Watford.
Sorry, they are Watford, yeah.
Not played themselves. That would have been relatively easy.
Let me try that again.
They got to play Stoke as well, who aren't,
not even in that division.
Throwing in a championship team. We could beat them.
So, sorry, Villa,
And they
Brighton, Palace, Spurs, Wolves, Norwich, Stoke, which feels like a cheat, and Newcastle. Yeah, it's not been a particularly taxing start, is it?
Yeah, we should throw in that the Palace game was also in the Cup. And it's an interesting thing to kind of reassure ourselves a little bit about form. That, yeah, Watford can get up to 12th, but then you see these games. So they lost 2-0 to Brighton, but then we're recording the day after Brighton were about to go top of the table, weren't they? And then they could only draw 1-1 with Crystal Palace. And like Crystal Palace have been getting a lot of rep for the way they've started the season in, Patrick Vieira's revolution. And we've been saying Conor Gallagher in midfield, looks like we should be. They've only won one game from memory.
And I think that was beating Spurs when they were down to 10 men, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they lost. So Watford, the Hornets, lost to Tottenham. And then Tottenham, who were top of the table 3 weeks ago, are now bottom of the table.
And it's over for them.
And it's all over. And they do look absolute trash. So it's they let Norwich score. So there's a real mixture. And then, we were complaining about our result against Newcastle because I think Newcastle are going to disappear without a trace, which by rights they should, but that's a 1-1 draw. So it's all form is temporary, isn't it? And I think there's some lessons in there for the way our season has started with 3 draws and 3 defeats, but that can quickly
a win against these lot makes it look a hell of a lot better instantly overnight, doesn't it? But this is the start of a run of fixtures for us that, well, I think this is the run of fixtures that defines our season, and because we haven't given ourselves a right lot of wriggle room in the early weeks, we need to start winning.
If we don't win in this, or we don't win a bunch of these games coming up, then it starts to feel like more of a battle that I think ultimately against relegation we would win. But it would be nice to pull clear of that now and just calm everybody the fuck down, cheer you up for a start.
I'm
that
fine.
Would be nice.
I'm fine now. Now it's come around to Tuesday lunchtime. I'm fine. I'm over the result. I mean, I was disappointed in the wake of it on the match ball, but what I do to get over it is just not engage in it whatsoever. As I was sort of mentioning on propaganda, I'll just divorce myself from it for the whole of Sunday. Didn't do anything to do with football. Rubbish. Stupid sport.
There's good news in Watford's style of play anyway, because our friends at whoscored.com who've done their detailed analysis of this say that their style of play is to play in their own half. So they're not going to score many doing that, are they? So that's a clean sheet straight away.
Just like they're very good, very strong at counter-attacks, though, which seems to be our...
Not if they're only going to play in their own half, though. If they get to halfway and they're like, right, that enough, lads.
If you're going to
stop there.
If you're going to be doing lyrics, Moscow, what do you make of their manager?
I don't even know who their manager is.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Cisco.
Who?
Cisco.
Oh, it's Cisco, isn't it?
From the Thong Song.
Thong Song Man, yeah.
Yeah,
Could you sing the Thong Song for us, Moscow?
No,
please?
I'm not going to do that.
Dumps like a truck.
I'm aware that those are some of the words from Thong Song by Cisco, yes, but I'm not going to be singing it for you. It's Watford just keep cycling through. I don't mean to be rude about their current incumbent, but they're just very generic kind of championship-y Watford managers, aren't they? And they probably come from Udinese because that's all that they do. So it's difficult to remember who actually they are.
I mean, I look at their lineup on much the same tip, and I don't recognise a single player. Tom Cleverley. Is it Tom Cleverley?
No, it's Tom Cleverley.
I recognise him. Backman, their keeper, I recognise from Turner and Overdrive.
They've got Danny Rose now.
Where's he?
He plays for him. Doesn't start necessarily.
Oh, he's not on this
graphic.
Got him. Right,
they've got him.
It's very much a can't be arsed, I'll just play for Watford move, though, isn't it? Nobody good wants me, I'll just go with Watford. We should recognise Cisco because he did play against us was it the Champions League? He played for Valencia against us when we were doing that kind of thing.
That kind of thing being good.
Yeah.
Did he play in the Champions League or did he play in the friendly that Simon Walton was sent off in?
It was the friendly.
It might have been that, I think.
He was Valencia B until 2003, and then he's part of the kind of the Pablo Hernandez generation from Valencia. So we do have a little bit of familiarity with him. And he went to Levante, but it would have been long after Ian Hart's time. So there's no crossover there. Real Betis in between those two.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not nobody, but he has come to Watford after managing Dinamo Tbilisi.
Hey, I'm just reading about...
Where he did play 100 games.
About Cisco, actually. You know the lyrics, She Was Living La Vida Loca, that are in the Thong Song? They're obviously from Ricky Martin's song, Living La Vida Loca. The writers of that song actually got credited on Thong Song as a result of that.
Yeah, and they took loads of the money, so we can once the algorithm on YouTube gets a grip of that,
now we'll be discounted for advertising on this one, won't we, now? Because we're singing songs by a different artist. Damn, we shouldn't have even mentioned it, so don't perform it, Moscow, actually, and put your trousers back on. I mean,
we're handing money over to Jamelia, we're handing money over to Ricky Martin, Cisco.
Are you at all worried about this game against Watford at the weekend?
I'm worried insofar as if they take a lead, I think we'll see the first bit of proper panic.
Will it be panic? Will it be dissent? Will it be nerves? What will it manifest itself like?
If Watford are winning at half time, there'll be boos, is what I'm going to predict, which I don't think we've not actually... We'll be losing to Everton at some point? I can't remember. The crowd has been on side with us anyway this season, is the point I'm making. We lost against West Ham, and at the end people clapped. If we lose against Watford, I don't think people will clap at the end, which is my main concern.
I think we have a good chance, given that in their table of aerial battles won from whoscored.com, I assume this is per match, Troy Deeney is up there with 3. He plays for Birmingham City.
I was going to say he's left.
Yeah. So if one of their best players is at Lee Bowyer's Birmingham, then I don't think we need to worry too much about the ones that are left.
I mean, we don't mean to be disparaging about Watford at all, I don't think.
Don't mind.
But we should be winning this.
We have got to win this. We just have to. I like predicting us to lose, don't I? But I think we will win this. So that's a mark of how much I think we should win it.
Because
I'm willing to actually say that.
We have had multiple requests through the week for us to stop making predictions on the podcast.
Okay, I don't predict that.
It doesn't.
I don't know what'll happen.
It has no bearing on the outcome, does it? I mean, I've predicted every week that we'll win. So why change now? I was told by Hay to predict that we'd lose. And that didn't work either because I think we drew.
I think it's a lesson for football and indeed for life. What you do really doesn't matter. Anyone listening to this, doesn't really matter.
No.
I was sitting behind Phil Hay, a few rows.
Does that warrant
I'll give it a muted one.
During the West Ham game on Saturday, and I noticed he had Twitter on his laptop screen, and he just seemed to be staring at a Hearts of Midlothian goal gif. So what was happening on the pitch seemed to be irrelevant, or at least he was keeping it on his screen in front of him, maybe as some kind of comfort.
Yeah.
So he could just keep looking back. They won 3-0, but something for him to maybe keep looking back to and go, good, we're winning. That's good. So that was funny.
Well, we'll talk to Phil on the Phil Hay Show.
Ask him.
He can update us on which of our horrendously injured players might be fit again.
I want to chuck him under the bus actually a little bit because he did text me at half time against West Ham saying that Leeds would win, and I want to go on record and say that now because, well, this is what it's about, isn't it? Chucking each other under the bus.
I'm going to Phil Hay text me. I'm going to give you one of them.
All right.
They're only a point off the top.
Just because he doesn't text you.
Hearts.
Correct.
It's Rangers, Hibs, Hearts, Motherwell.
Well, I'll be pleased that Hibs are just above.
Well, this is it. It could be an Edinburgh battle for the Scottish. What do they give them? Probably a Buckfast Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Happy for him.
What are we getting on the weekend, Moscow?
Oh, loads of wins.
Are we getting 3 points?
Yes.
Are either of you prepared to go on record and predict a score here?
Yeah, fine. 2-0 Leeds.
3-0 Leeds.
4-0 Leeds.
Okay.
I was going to go 3-0, but I thought, why not? Just go crazy.
It could be. We said this about, so this is why it didn't work, but the West Ham game could have clicked, couldn't it? And we kind of had that feel of like, this will be the one where we finally get an unexpected win. What we got was an unexpected, really good performance. I think we played better than most people thought we would. And then a typical Leeds United 21-22 and probably Leeds United 102 years kicking the bollocks for thinking we would win. Watford, they don't have the bollock kicking ability that we need to fear. I think we'll play as well as we did against West Ham United. And I don't know what the injury updates are, but we'll have Struijk will be available unless he gets injured. And hopefully Jackie will be feeling a little bit more like himself after recovering from COVID. And Daniel James will have got some sleep and won't have spent the week zipping around in a helicopter visiting
maternity wards
and Craven Cottage.
Yeah.
So he really was dividing his time in the run-up to the game, and neither of them really played very well. But there's more to come from them in particular, and we'll play really well against Watford, beat them, everything will be fine.
It's actually, I've just realised it's not Leeds United's style to go out and just blast it away as a 4-0. I think that's what I hope, but I think deep down, I think it'll probably be a really nervous 2-1, where there'll be a massive sigh of relief at full time when we get it over the line.
That's absolutely fine by me. I'm quite happy to come back in here annoyed with 3 points.
Yeah, fair enough. It's the points that counts, isn't it? So 3 wins, great. Allow the barracking to begin. Time is running out. It's like transfer deadline day. Maybe we should have a countdown clock in the corner, mercilessly counting down to the end of September, because that's when the 15% discount ends on conveyancing instructions with Levi Solicitors.
Tick-tock.
In fact, Michael, can you be Jim White? Put on a yellow tie.
I will advise everyone to not make a hasty purchase. But if you are moving house anyway, you might as well do this.
Way to sell it. Yeah.
But I mean, don't go and buy a house just like immediately just because you're trying to save a percentage.
Yeah.
But if you are buying a house, then do.
Wow.
Make sure you buy a house you want.
I mean, Levi's are going to love that.
Hey, I'm just saying, don't make a bad decision.
Do the opposite of what Michael said.
Don't buy a Jean-Kevin Augustin house, is all I'm saying.
Get a good, solid, well-built house, but do go through Levi's for your conveyancing instructions. As we're saying, like the offer, the 15% discount reverts to 10% at the end of September, so you only have a matter of days to get on that. But get in touch with Levi's, mention our name, and you will secure 15% off your legal fees.
And the upside, you have your dream home much sooner. trying to put a positive spin on this. Idiots. Rambling nonsense.
Don't buy a house. LeviSolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Go and buy a house. Heroes and villains now. Part 3 of the show. Who's done good and who's done bad by us across the last 7 days in the world of football. Right, let's do, first of all, the Ken Bates Villain of the Week award. We throw this open as well to our TSB Plus subscribers who let us know who they think their heroes and villains are. I mean, top of the list here, Antonio's got an absolute load, hasn't he? Adrian, Daniel, Johnny, Katie, Marco, Jack, Adsham, Morpheus denied. Interesting name. Ryan, Liam, Ben and Craig, among many, many others, nominating him for that elbow and trying to hurt our young French goalkeeper's face.
And for scoring the winner. That can't be underrated. He might have got away with the elbow. There may have been less of a landslide of opprobrium towards him if he just stopped. But he went and scored the winner as well, so you can't have both. It's a choice. You either punch Meslier out or score the winner, not both.
Yeah, I feel a bit of an affinity to Antonio for some reason. I don't know, I've always quite liked him. until
same physique?
Now. Very similar, yeah. Very similar. We tend to go to the gym. I spot him sometimes when he's bench pressing. But I feel like have you
got that to that point now where there's kind of, you don't speak really, but there's a knowing, you know that you recognise one another. You're like, all right, mate, just a nod.
Game knows game and all that, as they say. Yeah. Just I don't know. He's played for Sheffield Wednesday and Reading and Nottingham Forest, and I think to have come through that and now be a good Premier League striker,
he's a survivor, isn't he?
I think that's to his credit because they're absolute shit shows, are all of those. And he's
did he really used to be like a left back or something?
He used to be a right back, didn't he? And then he was a winger for a bit, and then I think they just
found himself.
Was it Moyes who stuck him up front? Do we have to give Moyes some credit?
It's the last couple of seasons, isn't it? Yeah, it seems.
Well, Moyes played himself on the wing at the weekend.
It does. I likened him in my match report on the blog to Paul Warhurst when he was playing for Sheffield Wednesday as a centre-back and they put him up front and he scored so many goals. He got called up for England as a striker and then got into an argument with Trevor Francis where he was saying...
What did he say? What did Trevor Francis say?
Trevor was trying to put him back into defence, but he was now saying he's a striker. So Trevor...
What did he say?
Listen, you're a centre-back. You need to move. Go to your end of the pitch. There's going goals.
Yeah. And of course, after this initial burst of excitement, he then played, about 30 games as a striker and couldn't score for toffee. It all just went, and he ended up in midfield at Blackburn. And I sometimes wonder, or I was wondering in match report, whether Antonio, it'll all just stop one day.
And he'll end up playing defensive midfield for Blackburn.
Yes.
Fine.
But at the moment, he's pretty good at the old scoring goals thing. So that can't stand. Villain right away. I don't care if you see yourself in him or what, then he's a villain in my eyes.
Well, Kevin Friend has probably slipstreamed Antonio for the greatest weight of nominations. There's a lot here. Matt Sazzy, Aidan, James, Katie, Paul, Graham, Ryan, Phil and Moscow's West Stand friend, Ralph, Chris, James, Dave, Elliot, all laying the boot in. Refs, friend and refs.
And some of the language being used here.
Yeah.
We just can't say these words out loud, can we?
I mean, Katie's done a bleep, and a bleep, and another one there.
Yeah, I think we can say the and the. But beyond that, it's not to be discussed.
I mean, the good refs are the ones that you don't notice, aren't they? And unfortunately, Kevin Friend put himself front and centre in a lot of that. And Ryan from Australia is the one who picks it out. It says it was just stop-start, borderline OCD on the throw-ins.
The throw-ins were weird.
There were so many foul throws, weren't there?
They were really... Well, just the fact that he seemed really picky about where they were taken from. And not always consistently either. Like sometimes he was happy to give or take 10, 20 yards, as most refs are. But then other times he was very precise. He was like, no, it needs to be that exact. Keep going, another foot. That's about right, as long as you don't move again.
Do you think a lot of that is kind of... that's like performative, demonstrative to try and show people that he's in charge of the game and he won't stand for
it? He's got a whistle.
And he should... Well, yeah.
What more does he need?
Well, he might have whistled and pointed.
I'm in charge of this little bit of the game that no one gives a toss about.
Yeah,
I can do this, though.
That was it. He did whistle and point on the throw-ins, and that was the thing, is like, sometimes you get a referee with a whistle and it will go through you. And I really felt like kind of shivering in my bones whenever he was whistling about throwing.
Although there were times, though, when they were trying to take the mick with rolling, free kicks, where they do that thing where they spin the ball in front of themselves and give themselves an extra few yards. And they were at that a little bit, trying to gain sneaky yards. And he kept moving them back, and I was grateful for that. But I don't want to acknowledge it because he annoyed me. So good for doing those bits.
But let's not focus on it.
Yeah.
And the whole, incident with Antonio and the elbow, whether it was a red card or not, the whole incident could probably have been handled better and briefer without the whole wandering around chatting with everybody and going to look at the exact quantity of blood on the tissue and all this stuff that he needed to decide a yellow card. Just give the free kick and book him. Move on.
Phil and Moscow's West Stand friend Ralph did pick out one particular incident, or a couple of incidents, just to highlight the annoyance with Friend. Gave Rafinha a yellow card for his celebration, but did nothing when West Ham's players go into their fans. And I think, is this true that Ben Rama started manhandling stewards?
Yeah, there was a lot going on. I wouldn't say for definite that Ben Rama was doing that because I didn't see it, so I can't say exactly. But West Ham fans ran on, stewards tackled them, and then West Ham players started kind of, because the fan was on the floor and trying to get up, and they were sort of getting involved in it. And I couldn't work out if they were trying to stop the fan from being taken away. But it seemed, I mean, the interesting thing to compare it with the Rafinha one is, what's the ultimate sort of target of booking players for that? What are you trying to stop them from doing? You're trying to stop them from...
Is it COVID protocols?
No, says it's going into the crowd. I think Graham Smith checked that with the Premier League, so it's not COVID related.
He didn't go into the crowds, though. He was this side of the barriers, wasn't he? He just stood there.
Well, but that's the point with the West Ham fans, but he encouraged the fans to come and embrace him and come over the barriers themselves.
He got a megaphone, didn't he? He said, come on the pitch, get over here, lads.
So it was all a certain amount of... But that's what it comes down to, and what my point was is kind of, what are you trying to stop? You're trying to stop fans from falling over each other over the seats in a dangerous situation and piling onto the pitch and creating a little bit of a public order problem that the stewards have to sort out. And I think the West Ham players were just as guilty of that, if not more, when they're getting involved with stewards who are trying to get fans off the pitch. I don't have a particular problem with anything I saw the West Ham players doing, and I don't think that a couple of fans running onto the pitch and celebrating is necessarily the biggest one. I think somebody tried to run and have a go at Jack Harrison in the midst of it all. So that's why it's not desirable for people to be running out of the crowd onto the pitch. But I've seen worse things happen. But
it seemed generally fairly good natured running onto the pitch. It was celebrating.
It wasn't Aaron Corley, was it?
No, exactly. It was. Shouldn't obviously happen.
But it's going to have those inevitable results if Stewart starts fighting with him. It took ages to kind of sort it out and calm it down and get the game going again. So that's why it's...
Ken Bates will be at home in Monaco muttering electric fences, won't he?
Ben Fry rattling his bell up in York going, keep off the pitch.
In truth, that's probably why Friend didn't book anyone, because it was already complicated enough. He just saw a load of chaos and went, it looks like stewards and police and stuff are involved in this. It's not for me.
And who do you book as well? Which player do you book? Because it was easy with Rafinha. And then if it was going to be Antonio for the winner, then it's a red card. So it becomes a big deal from that point of view. And that's why Rafinha's yellow should be rescinded.
I've got a feeling we're getting caught up on a fairly minor detail here, but that is the real quiz, isn't it? Why weren't there more sendings off? Never mind that we lost. Anyway, Moscow, well put that. Apart from you are now nominated by Ding for your optimism, which we've dealt with on the other show, didn't we? Say it's just realism. It's realism, Moscow insists. I don't believe him, but that's what he says. He says it's not his cup of tea, quite simply.
And he has a little swipe as well. So
he doesn't see what you see.
Maybe if I watched the game on a little TV, it would look different.
Well, isn't it one of the joys of human experience that we all think differently and have different opinions? And I welcome...
Twitter reinforces that, yes.
Yeah, I hope, give the impression that anybody has to think what I think, because even I don't really particularly care about my own opinions to that. So I'm interested in ideas and communicating things as I see them. I'm not the only person who...
Let's go back to refs. I'm just looking further down the list, and Mike Dean gets a nomination from former Leeds United striker Wayne Andrews, who says Mike Dean was actually able to give a penalty when it was for scum. Again, I've seen the actual penalty. I haven't seen the award of it.
No, nor have I. But I've every reason to believe it was wrong.
Oh, we've got some turncoat bastards. Look, Bielsa's getting nominations now. It's starting to happen. Leeds fans, honestly, should we even name them?
Shame. Let's. Well, I mean, Gillian wants us to discuss the substitutions, which didn't work.
Well, we don't know about the injury situation.
Rafinha was injured, wasn't he? Yeah. So I guess you've got to let him off on that one. The thing there is, knowing Rafinha was injured, should he have left James on, and then he could have brought on Jack Harrison for Rafinha, and we didn't have to mess around with wingers and stuff. So you could just put Tyler Roberts on the wingers, equally as effective. Moscow. No,
let's not.
You don't need to defend.
We spend too long.
You don't
doing
need to defend Tyler Roberts anymore.
I think it all came out to the same result in the end anyway. Dan James, after the week he'd had, playing at Newcastle, having a baby, getting in a helicopter, playing at Fulham, coming back, playing the game, it probably got... And he wasn't any good in the first half. I don't think he wasn't terrible, but there was... When I was working out for my match report, I was trying to find, because there was a period of 5 minutes when I was sure that Ben Rama didn't touch the ball. And as it turned out, that was correct. But during the same period, Dan James didn't touch the ball either. And they were the only two players on the pitch who didn't have a touch in that period. And you can't really go 5 minutes without even having a touch and say, well played. I think it just got to half time and Dan James has said, I would really just like a nap. And under that situation, right, Jackie, you've had COVID, but you came eating. And Harrison's tweet, either on the night or the next day, was that it was his first day out of quarantine. So he'd not really had the chance to train, but we put him back in. And maybe at that point, Rafinha is in the changing room saying, I feel like a king. I've scored a goal. Everything's great. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to win this match for Leeds United and it will be great. And I wonder if what changed his mind was Matches Click's miss, because as distraught as Click looked about what he did there, it was little compared to the fury that you could see on Rafinha's face, where there was an element of, why do I hang around with these doofuses? My hip hurts. Get me off this pitch.
Hey, some body parts have been nominated, by the way. Junior Firpo's arse has been nominated. We've also had...
For the deflection, we should clarify, not for anything else that it did.
Forshaw's thigh got a nomination in among all this. Lactic acid, which does build up in muscles, got a nomination for us looking leggy in the last 10 minutes.
And Rafinha's hip, it would be good if that was fully recovered, because we can't be having him playing an hour and limping off like Steptoe's horse.
I did enjoy this, by the way. David Moyes got some nominations. It was Mez, Andrew, Matthew, and Graham Turville picks him out for always being out of his techno area, which I think... I imagine just throwing a few shapes down.
No limits. Too unlimited, we're having a problem with him. Yeah, and I didn't like him coming on the pitch, even if it's just to kick a ball back. Stay out of it.
Our negative fans and our positive fans have both been nominated, so we're just in an unwinnable situation at the minute. Radrazani's been nominated. I was talking about his incredibly thin skin earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, one of the people who is nominated, one of the three who've nominated Radrazani, one goes by the name of Angus Kay, apparently, which I think is someone causing mischief on the feedback form.
If it's not, if it's really you.
Brad, put your fucking phone away, you tool, is what it says, which I don't think is from the words of our of Leeds United's Angus Kinnear.
But yeah, it was it. Yeah, Nathan sums it up right, saying by no means does his nomination tarnish his admiration for what he's done over the last few years, but the tweeting doesn't sit right with him. Yeah, absolutely.
It's always been an interesting the way Wisconsin Todd puts it, where he says he needs to subscribe to the notion that wolves don't care about the opinions of sheep when it comes to social media, because it was wolves he was tweeting at when they beat us 3-0, and towards the end of the game he started going, the Football League needs to know this is very unfair and wolves are cheating. So it's kind of... Do
you know what? I actually didn't mind that as much, because that was highlighting a larger structural issue with the way the rules were.
He needed to not do it while we were 3-0 down in the second half, though, didn't he? It seemed very... And I think that's why I'm kind of a little bit oblivious sometimes to him tweeting, just because I get now that this is what he's like, and it's there are worse traits than stupid tweets. But when that's your prime channel of communication, just stick to the stuff about helping the Afghan women's team that he wants to bring to Yorkshire and Howes. Just do that.
Mind you, given the current climate.
It'll be a beautiful gesture and very helpful, and I hope it works out for everybody involved. Much better than arguing about reserve midfielders on Twitter pointlessly.
Yes, there are Man Marking gets a nomination. There's a particular family in the West Stand who kept standing up, who Jerry was annoyed about. But it feels niche. We're not going to do that. Somebody wants
this
to...
This is when people are getting pissed off with the world, isn't it? And they can sit down as well.
Yeah, that person in front of me, how dare you go for a piss after 40 minutes? The Ellen Road PA control person, Andy, has got a gripe, asks, why does Marching On Together start from the beginning now? I think that's a good place to start a song. I don't know about you.
Yeah, but you were a DJ, you would mix it up, but halfway through.
Yeah, I mean, like on the radio.
Bring it in for the chorus, where's the drop?
Well, on the radio, you do that cool thing of talking up to the vocals, don't you? So you don't crash the vocals, but you can't really do that because it starts so prominently with the I don't even know what instrument it is, but you want to hear that, don't you?
But as Andy is pointing out, it has always previously played from just before the first chorus, so that there is enough time for the song to play to the end. And now it's fizzling out, and
because the Premier League anthem,
comes over the top. So if they go back to, it's not a bad idea to work out when it needs to stop.
Do you know what that's called in radio? In radio, it's called back timing.
Well, there you go. They need to back time it.
Yeah,
but everybody loves back time.
Yeah, so do that. Right, let's pick a villain of the week then. Is it Antonio?
Yeah.
But he did cause us most misery. We think he should have been sent off, even though probably not. But
Meslier doesn't deserve that.
He scored the winner,
and Meslier got booked needlessly. Like, I don't think Meslier should have been booked for saying to Kevin Friend, "They've just tried to do it to me again. Well, why aren't you giving me a free kick for that? Do something about this." Oh, I'll give you a yellow card.
They obviously did target him to an extent, didn't they? Unless they might just target all goalkeepers. It might not be anything particular against Meslier, but I don't
look like Burnley as well, don't they? They're dressed like Burnley.
It's true. He didn't generally handle it badly, though. I didn't think he took one in the face, but take it he did. He didn't shirk away from Antonio's massive arm, though, did he? He just looked at it and went, "Yep, if needs must, I will go into this."
He's a great player, isn't he?
He is very good, Meslier. Yeah. Well,
very, very
let's get on to the positives then. Let's do the Gaetano Berardi Hero of the Week.
And there he is being nominated.
Well, we've got in the early nominations, we've got a generic The Kids, St. Petersburg White, says The Kids, and Meslier, Shackleton, Creswell, assuming that we stay in this division in the future. Right, absolutely fair point.
Or we can get relegated and play them.
Yeah.
Win-win.
We're going to be playing them either way, aren't we? Creswell gets an absolute, there's no point in even listing all the people who've nominated him. There's probably about 30 here on the sheet. Angus Kay as well, pushing the agenda again.
Let's give Daniel Barthorpe a mention, who says, Charlie Creswell, it makes up somewhat for the fact that I hated his dad when he played for us, based on little more than pretty much hating that whole Blackwell era minus Healy, Hulson-Derry. So there's the redemption, the son absolving the sins of the father.
I do wonder how long it's going to be until Bielsa makes Creswell lose weight, because he's a big boy.
He's just made him put him all on.
He's big, isn't he, though, compared to the rest of our players now? He'll be like, well, I said you had to go away and bulk up, but not like that. Just look at Liam. Get more like Liam. And everyone else is saying, don't do that.
Yeah, he was outstanding. And from Creswell to Meslier, he gets loads of nominations for being fearless. Our octopus, Graham describes him as arms everywhere.
Long arms.
There were some genuine worldly saves in there as well. Like there was that one, I think in the first half, where he just tipped it round the post. There's the one-on-one as well. So he did enough to keep us in the game when it was proper end-to-end stuff. And he is brilliant. You're right.
I think one day he'll snap and headbutt Liam Cooper. Tackle one of them. Come on.
Tackle.
Kibar can't do everything.
He's brilliant. So, when we've sold Calvin Phillips this summer and Rafinha next summer, Meslier the summer after?
Well, it's the big relief, isn't it, that Donnarumma went to Paris Saint-Germain, because there was that little element of Melier's agent starting to get involved and, we think maybe he could go there. No. Let him stay at Leeds, but he does seem to have that quality. But then the only hope, but one hope is that clubs tend to like older goalkeepers, don't they? So we'll have him for a few years at least.
That's exactly what I was saying, just one each year.
Until he's matured.
Although often that's a case of experience, isn't it? Because they say they've not played enough. As much as they might look good at youth football, they've not got 100 games behind him or whatever, but he will have, won't he, pretty soon. So I think it's Dave who does point out, actually, that we're worried about Rafa and Phillips, but Meslier will go for as much as anyone next summer.
Yeah, and I was just had a look at how old Aaron Ramsdale is, and he's 23. So maybe the trend is going the other way now. With they've also got what's his face at Scum, haven't they, as well? Who duking out with what's his face, and he's quite young. So maybe
brilliant description.
Maybe people are going for younger.
Dean Henderson, young at heart, isn't he?
I mean, I didn't want to get into the whole Dean Henderson youth question. That's why I was avoiding all of that. But Meslier is great. Michael Owen will tell you he was always destined to be.
A number of nominations for players for a variety of things. Rafinha picks up a few for being good at football. We have Gelhardt for his penalty against Fulham. It was Steve who picked that one up. Strauch for learning another position in the 23s. He went central midfield, didn't he? Number 8 he was wearing.
Yes, and he's played left back in the second half of that game, and most of the Blackburn game he was left back as well. He took ages trying to take a throw in. That was quite nice. I think he was confused being thrown back into the under 23s. He was just standing there with the ball waiting for somebody to make one of the first team runs, and it wasn't happening, and it took hours.
Shackleton gets a nomination by Andy for his week that he's had. We have Rodrigo as well. Dave picked up Rodrigo for being different class at times.
A drunk man in the East Stand?
Yeah, we're going back to the picking out the individual fans. Kilimanjaro was well impressed by the bloke sat behind him in the Upper East, because he arrived stinking of booze and then bellowed at the back of his head. I bet you could feel the warmth just projecting onto the...
Nice COVID-safe feeling where you're thinking, the back of my head is absolutely covered. Lovely.
But after 95 minutes, he was annoyed at first, but after 95 minutes of already having lost his own voice during the goal celebration, he had nothing but respect for him for still going all that time later. The lifeblood of our support. And it's true, isn't it? It's very, very true. I mean, Moscow, you've got some nominations. No idea why. Nathan and Thomas
should be bringing me into this.
They've picked you out. No.
Although Nathan does say that he didn't see the game and he hasn't been able to bring himself to watch it, but he basically likes the fact that you tell him some comforting lies after each game. Not his words exactly. But,
yes, I don't want to get into...
That's my interpretation of it.
And it's an accurate one as well.
I don't want to get into me, but let's quote Nathan accurately. Never fails to make me feel better in the wake of games like that. So that's nice. I'm glad that I can make people feel better. That's
people, one person.
Well, it's one more than none.
Holly Ann tweeted us to say that her Hero of the Week nomination goes to whoever's responsible at Leeds United for signing off on the installation of toilet seats in the ladies. After almost 18 years, this was a pleasant and unexpected first at Ellen Road. We have a happy peach this winter.
I mean, in the men's toilets, I can't remember if this is still the case. I think it might just be a bare metal...
like prison toilet.
...rim now. At some point in the East Stand, I'm sure they had little bits of wood just on the edges, like a permanently attached bit of wood. That obviously just was endlessly doused in piss. So if anyone actually wanted to sit on it, it was not really an option. But I'm glad.
Would you sit down in an Ellen Road toilet?
I think I have done once when I was... poorly. It was not a decision I took lightly then.
We've spoken about it because, like, when you go out, like we were saying, I think it was about kids, weren't we? We were talking in the kitchen here at the office, just saying that it's funny how kids can interrupt any day by just needing the toilet. And as adults, you just think, well, do you know what? What I'll do is I'll save it and go on the throne at home rather than using toilets in like restaurants and pubs and bars.
Whereas kids will be like halfway through a Yorkshire pudding and just go, just off to the just off to go on out. Just do you want to come with me?
Because my lad Sam, he went to the toilet twice during the first half against West Ham, just hoping and praying it was number ones, because I haven't doused him in sanitizer since.
But I must admit, I'm surprised the women have not had toilet seats to this point. It does seem quite poor.
Well, if we don't get them, why should they?
18 years is a long time to be holding anything in. I wonder, because there was they recently filmed that FIFA ratings video, which had the wonderful clip of Calvin Phillips shouting down a phone to whoever had done the FIFA ratings, going, "My ratings are a shambles." Which is one of the most. That's why he can never leave, because no other club will appreciate his Leeds pronunciation of shambles. That was filmed beneath the Kop, and I'm wondering if, in the process of that, one of the film crew or the staff, production staff who've come along to make that, has attempted to piss and has drawn it to the attention of the people there. You've seen the state of it in there, and like, oh no, we haven't been in there for 18 years.
Patrick Bamford, maybe, because he was on that film. Maybe he's gone into the toilet and gone, "Oh my God, is this how they treat them?" And he's had a word.
You'd hope he'd go in the gents, though. I mean, even in a gender neutral toilet world, I don't think that really applies in the Kop. Pat Bamford should be able to tell the difference.
Should go for a sit down way elsewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, not there.
Or maybe he was just checking because he's interested in how the other half lives. So he's checking out every inch of the women's toilets.
And that's my explanation, officer.
Radrazani gets a nomination. Got to balance the universe the other way. Katie has nominated Andrea for the Afghanistan girls youth team. 112 of them to bring them to Leeds. Haven't they suffered enough, etc., etc., is the joke there. So well done. And Angus Kinnear gets a nomination for his programme notes as well. So let's pick a hero of the week out of all that lot. Is it Cresswell?
I think Cresswell.
I mean,
maybe does it? Oh God, Tyler Roberts. Then go on.
Melier got the elbow dans la bouche.
Yeah,
didn't he? So it's
elbow. Is that the translation?
And I think, have we done this before where we've not given it to Melier on the expectation that he's going to be nominated again next week? And I feel like that may be it, because if Stroik is back, is Cresswell going to stay in? He's certainly played well enough, but we know Bielsa will go for his safer option. So it could be that this is he's only going to have one Premier League debut, isn't it? Let's give it Cresswell.
Elbow is
Melier next week. It's what? Could.
could.
Sounds like a Geordie thing, like his Geordie accent he was doing.
He's got
could.
a could in the bush.
Reach the could.
All right. Is it? It's Creswell then, just because it's his debut. It's a sympathy vote then, is it?
Yeah, go on.
As opposed to a sympathy vote for Meslier for getting an arm in the face. But no, he was outstanding, and the future does bode well. And it does mean that if there comes a time where we need to play him again further on in the season, that we know that we can rely on him.
We need to play him again against Watford. Never mind further in the season. Why would you drop him though? In all honesty,
Well, I personally probably would not, but Bielsa will see Struijk there and see he's got so many more Premier League games, and we'll put him back in. And then if Llorente or Koch happen to be available, then it's difficult. We've seen the pattern of lots of debuts, but not many players getting a run. So unless you want to quickly go and like tug Pascal Struijk's beard off so that he's got a face injury and can't play, just rip it off.
I'm glad you finished that sentence like that, because it could have come out a lot worse.
just tugging his beard off. Sounds.
Well, I don't know how else
It's a
you
weird
hurt
thing.
him. It's the most obvious thing to go for.
Just your own fantasies.
Well done then, Cresswell. He had a good one. And regardless of whether it's him or Struijk, hopefully we return next week and we'll finally be happy with this godforsaken season in this awful division. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Thanks for joining us on this one. We'll see you in a bit.
The Square Ball Podcast.
Hi, this is Benjamin from podcasts They Walk Among Us and They Walk Among America. I'm here to tell you about Shudder. Looking for a good scare? Come experience what Polygon calls a horror movie paradise. Stream anticipated new releases like Superhost, Seance starring Suki Waterhouse, and the Boulet Brothers' Dracula. Plus, don't miss out on Creepshow, Slasher, Flesh and Blood, and other must-see exclusives you won't find anywhere else. Available ad-free and on the platforms you're already on. Sign up today at shudder.com. Shudder. So good it's scary.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hello, I'm Danny Pellegrino, and I host the Everything Iconic podcast. If you're into reality TV and pop culture, subscribe to Everything Iconic, where I break down all of your favorite Bravo shows like The Real Housewives and Vanderpump Rules. I interview celebrity guests and take a bunch of detours along the way. Everyone from Cameron Diaz, Rosie O'Donnell, Daniel Levy, Andy Cohen, Katie Couric, and even Queen icon legend Miss Piggy have stopped by, so you'll never want to miss an episode. You could find me on social media at Danny Pellegrino and subscribe to Everything Iconic with Danny Pellegrino, the show with over 23 million downloads on Acast or wherever you get your podcasts.